Hi. Everybody, the movie begins when a realtor is selling a house to a man for rent. She starts acting seductively to pursue the man. After the house tour, she says that the price is a steal, and there is a queue waiting. She can give him the end of the day to finalize, but the man is smitten and finalize the deal and transfers the money. The man asks her out and she tells him to pick her up at 8 o'clock at night, when the man arrives to pick her up, but an old man opens the door and doesn't know about any girl. He tries to call her number, but has been discontinued. The man has been scammed. The realtor is now with her real partner, Smith, and her real name is Paloma. They both rent high-end apartments and luxury penthouses, which they don't own, and earn a massive amount from unsuspecting clients by renting them out to them. Smith loves her very much, but Paloma has never said "I love you" back. She only replies with "same." One day, Paloma gets a message from Daisy, but the IP address indicates that it came from a police station. Smith thinks they should leave and take their business elsewhere, but Paloma wants to play. Smith reminds her about Baltimore, where their blurry footage leaked, and the news channel reported on it. But Paloma says it was nothing, as no arrests were made at that time. She tries to convince Smith otherwise, but she was not having it. Paloma then offers a bet: they both will choose their next victim, and whoever closes the deal first will choose where they should go. Paloma chooses a remote penthouse with multiple complaints about various things for Smith. She, on the other hand, chose an expensive apartment, which she will struggle to find a rich buyer for. The owner of the establishment is Dr. Robert Keeshan, a renowned neurosurgeon. Patients come from all over the world to get treatment from him. Robert just finished a successful operation. After the operation, his friend and manager Bradshaw congratulates him, but he is not satisfied as he thinks that they can achieve more. But Bradshaw says they must follow rules. He already done neurotransplantation on rats, and he will manage an FDA approval for him. Robert leaves soon as he has a new tenant for the apartment. Robert shows Paloma the apartment, who has disguised herself as Molly Bloom. She appreciates a picture of his wife, Rebecca. Robert says that sadly, she became sick. She finalizes the deal, and they shake hands. Paloma accidentally gets a cut on her finger because of his wedding ring. Robert, being a doctor, tends to her wounds. They talk, and Robert says he loves this neighborhood. His wife's parents' house is also nearby, but sadly they passed away. It's time for his leave. He gives her the password and codes for the alarm for her stay. Paloma says she is a hugger and hugs him. After he leaves, Paloma calls Smith, who has started her work. Paloma says that she has already disabled the cameras, and the alarm password is the owner's wife's birthday. As Paloma is disabling the cameras, Robert gets notifications about it. Paloma takes on another disguise and starts her scam. She starts showing clients the apartment for rent. But sadly, no one finds it appealing. One night, she brings a client named Tad. She starts her tactics on the man, but a few cameras are still not disabled, and Robert gets motion alert and sees Paloma has brought a man. Tad seems to be more aggressive and gets close to her. She tries to finalize the deal, but Tad has no interest in it. He starts forcing himself on her and her wig falls. Seeing this, Tad throws her to the ground. He takes out a knife and her to submit to him. Robert notices the commotion and hurries back to the apartment. She somehow manages to kick him, resulting in him hitting his head and bleeding. Paloma tries to run, but Tad grabs her and pins her down to the ground. He nicks her throat, and she starts bleeding. Tad has also lost a lot of blood and starts to lose consciousness. Robert arrives there and stabs Tad with an injection. Paloma tries to run, but soon falls. Robert asks her to stay. Still, Detective Warwicker and Crace are investigating the recent real estate scams. They are behind Paloma and Smith, and we're the ones sending them emails under a false name. She notices that they use literary characters' names as fake names for their scam. She asks her partner to search the recent listing with fictional character names. Paloma wakes up and finds herself in a nursing bed. She checks on her wounds, which have been stitched. Robert is talking on the phone, seeing her awake. He comes in and asks her to stay still. She rips out one of the stitches. He immediately puts a bandage on it and says she has lost a lot of blood. She is in his private establishment. He takes out her card and says he knows she is a scammer. He says she should have used her intelligence to help others, not harm them. He then increases the anesthesia dose, and she falls asleep. Robert starts stitching back her wound. After the operation, he starts to clean up the mess. He takes out the bloody carpet to throw it outside. Paloma wakes up, removes the catheter tube, and begins to find a way out. Smith has already closed her deal and leaves a message for her. Paloma sees the locked door and uses a clip and a blade to pick the lock. She comes out to a corridor and sees a half-open door. She hears a mysterious sound, and the door closes with dog barking. Someone grabs her from behind and vanishes into the darkness. An officer shows up on Robert's doorstep looking for his wife. Reported him missing, and his last cell tower was around his apartment. He says he doesn't know this man, but last night there was an unknown car blocking the fire hydrant. He towed the car and gave him the tow company address to misdirect the officer. Paloma wakes up chained by the neck. She tries hard to free herself, but with no success. Robert comes in with food and some medicine for her. She asks about the chain. He says the locked door was inadequate for her, and that's why the new arrangement. She screams at him to surrender her to the authorities. She tries to attack him, but he leaves. Soon, a large man enters to subdue her. Smith is at a bar waiting for Paloma's call. She messages her to call her. Paloma in captivity tells Dr. Robert that people are looking for her, but he says that her family died in a car accident. He found out her whole information from her DNA, even her real name. She asks what he wants from her, but Robert does not answer. A guy in the bar is checking out P. Smith. Soon he approaches her, but she rudely sends him away. Just then, she receives Paloma's message, saying she still needs a week. She starts to tease her. She tells her love you, and she answers back, love you too. Smith immediately figures that it's not Paloma, as she never says love you back. She understands she is in danger and approaches the man. She says she was just hit by many men, which is why she was rude. But he seems special. She asks if you want to get out of there. Paloma is pissed and screams at them that she needs to go to the toilet. The man takes her to the toilet. She tries to talk with him, asks what happened to his head and what his name is. But he gives her no answers. She gives him the name Lenny and starts to talk about her life and family, but Lenny says nothing and takes her back. On her way back, she tries to attack Robert again. Lenny stops her and pins her to the ground. Robert tells Lenny to leave. He says that Lenny was a nurse at his hospital and a drunk driver hit him, which caused him to go to a vegetative state, but he made Lenny better. But she says that he has made Lenny his pet. He says that without him, he would be lying in the hospital. He tells her to take some rest and leaves. Paloma tries to pick the lock again. The detectives are still searching for names, but it's taking too long. Grace soon figures out that they use names from books of the Penguin classics. This should narrow down the search. Smith and his date arrive at Robert's house. She says her friend Molly needs her help because her partner beats her. She tried to confront him, but is too afraid to do so. The guy takes out a gun, but Smith says she doesn't like guns. He carries it for her for backup. He goes to confront him. She advises him not let him get into his head. Robert goes to check after hearing a knock on the door. The guy forces his way in, trying to look for Molly. Robert tries to explain that there is no Molly and asks him to leave, but he starts to look for her and starts to destroy everything. He sees his wife's picture and asks if he beat her too and throws the picture. Robert, in anger, slices his throat with a record. The guy bled to death. Smith decides to check out herself. She sneaks to the backyard. Robert gets a motion alert on his camera. Smith finds a secret door. She remembers that Paloma told her the password is his wife's date of birth. She puts the password in and the door opens. Robert grabs a knife to deal with her. Smith enters and encounters a barking dog in a cage. Hearing the sound, Lenny takes out a dark gun. Paloma also manages to unscrew her. She takes a weapon and sits in her place to strike Robert. Robert goes to the backyard behind P. Smith. Paloma hears him coming, and when he is near, she stabs him multiple times, but she is shocked to see it's Smith she has stabbed. Robert also arrives there, and she asks for his help to save her life. He runs to her, asks her to be still, and tries to stop her bleeding. Oma notices Smith's gun on the ground. She tries to grab it, but Lenny arrives and shoots her with a dark gun and knocks her out. Robert in his room is watching his wife's old presentation video. She was also a neurosurgeon and was presenting a permanent solution to Alzheimer's and other brain-related issues. Robert starts to imagine that his wife is talking to him. She says that he has a golden opportunity in his hand and should act upon it. The next morning, Paloma wakes up chained and sees that Robert is preparing for an operation. She asks him if Smith is alive or not, and sees her on the bed with a shaven head. Lenny brings Tad. She's surprised to see the doctor is keeping her alive. She pleads with him to be in reason. Robert says the brain is an organ that defines them, and to work on it, he needs living tissue. Paloma screams in agony and calls him a monster. The detectives have narrowed their search down to a house. Grace is wondering why the owner, who's a neurosurgeon, is putting his house on rent. Paloma horrifyingly watches as Robert cuts Smith's head and skull. Lenny is helping him with the operation. He is preparing to take out a piece. Paloma tries to explain that he is not a bad man. He just lost his wife and is in grief. She knows his pain as she also lost her parents in a car accident. Robert takes out the piece and puts it in Tad's brain. He stitches it back with a laser. He then asks Tad to lift his arm. Tad is gaining consciousness slowly. Robert asks him to stand up. He slowly gets up from the bed. The detectives arrived at Robert's house. Tad starts to approach Paloma. He tells her about Baltimore. She understands it's Smith talking. She apologizes to her and says she loves her so much. He replies, "Same." Suddenly he starts having a seizure, grabs her hand, and calls her a bitch. Paloma kicks him and screams that he is not Smith. Robert helps Tad to put him back. Paloma tells Robert he is a monster, and she will kill him the moment she gets a chance. Suddenly, Tad smashes his head on the wall and falls. Robert gets a notification about the detectives at the front door. He comes out with his dog from outside to talk to the detectives. He takes them inside and the detectives notice the camera inside the operating theater. Lenny is cutting Paloma's hair for the operation. Detective Craze asks him if he listed the apartment for rent. He tries to divert the talk, asks Detective Warrior about his limping. He informs that a gunshot nicked him. He gives a card of his friend who can help him. Craze again asks him about the rent. He says it's his apartment, but he didn't put for rent. He doesn't know the woman named Molly who put the ad. He had a recent guest from an app, but her name was not Molly. Craze asks to see the footage of his front door. He says he will mail them. She also asks about Tad, who is still missing. Robert says he already told the officer what he knows. Craze wonders about his need to give rent despite being a brain surgeon. He asks her whether it is a crime. Warwicker feels it's too much and says it is time to leave. While Lenny cuts Paloma's hair, she talks about Smith and his family. She asks about his family and about his life before coming here. After the haircut is done, she says they are now like brother and sister. Lenny is taking her, but she pleads with him to escape from here together. But Lenny silently takes her to the operating room. She still says he has a good heart and they should escape. Back in the house, Robert is still seeing his wife. She advises him that he can't do it alone. He needs someone. Robert calls his friend Bradshaw and asks him to come over. Outside, Detective Craze says there's something wrong. The man has a dog, but there is no dog bowl. There's also tape on the floor instead of carpet, but Warrior feels those are not reasonable evidence. But he also says if she has feelings about him, they will dig more. Paloma still tries to escape, but Lenny won't let her go. He takes the gun and gives her the key to say goodbye to Smith. She frees herself and goes to check on Smith's body. Lenny sees Tad's body and Smith's body, so he takes the gun and shoots on his head. Paloma is in shock, but before she can do anything, Robert grabs her from behind. She wakes up and sees Robert's wife's old videos playing in front of her. Robert is preparing her with the recipient's visuals and sound. The detectives are reviewing footage from Robert's house. Grace shows his partner the timestamp. That day it rained, but in the footage it's dry. He is hiding something, but Warwicker says they have no solid evidence against him. She says they just need to keep digging. Paloma is in the operating bed and can't move. Robert takes in another body beside her. She asks him what he is doing. He then shows her the body. It's her wife, Rebecca. She actually isn't dead. She has a degenerative brain disease. Being a neurosurgeon, she kept herself alive. Robert just maintains her life support until they find a suitable donor. She has the same blood type as her, and she has no chance of any major brain disease. She won a genetic lottery. He starts the operation and tries to calm her, says she can still make it. Some people live with half a brain. But she says she is not stupid. She knows she is going to die here, and she hopes that his wife smashed his brain just like Tad. Bradshaw arrives at his apartment, and he takes him to the basement. He asks him to wear the scrub suit. He then takes him to the operating theater. Bradshaw is shocked to see what he has done. He sees Paloma and she asks for his help. Bradshaw says he crossed many lines. Robert tries to explain that the woman lying there is a thief. No one will miss her. They must sacrifice one life to save countless. He says it's not their job to judge a patient, and he isn't doing it to save millions of people, he's doing it to save his wife. He will have no part in it and leaves. Bradshaw goes back to his car and calls 911, but is forced to cut the line as Robert gets into the car. He says they can figure this out, but Robert stabs him and kills him. The detectives are still searching. They came across a report that Robert's neighbor reported gunshots, but being understaffed, the police didn't check it. With the doctor footage and gunshots, they can get a search warrant. Robert comes back to the operating room and sees Paloma missing. She tries to sneak attack him, but he holds her down as she is still weak. He puts her back in bed. He then starts the final operation. The detectives with the police force arrive at Robert's apartment. They break into the house. Warwicker goes to the backyard to check. He finds the secret door and informs Cars. She with the force get into the basement. They find the operating room. Robert is still operating on Paloma and takes out her brain. The detectives see that the operation theater is empty except for the dead bodies. They wonder what the hell is going on here. The police are outside, but Robert is in another apartment. It's his wife's parents' apartment, which he purchased long ago to keep his wife hidden from everybody. He then finished the operation and successfully transferred the brain to his wife. Rebecca slowly wakes up. After a long time, he helped Rebecca with her recovery. She asks him about her donor. He says sadly, the donor didn't survive the operation. She wonders what she was like. He says he didn't get a chance to know her. Robert is now living with his wife in the woods, happily. Rebecca hugs him from behind and says he knows that she's a hugger, the same thing Paloma told her. He sliced her throat, and Robert bled to death in the snow as Rebecca or Paloma watched. Like and subscribe for more interesting movie like this. Turn on notifications and leave a like to help the channel out. Thank you for watching.